Artificial intelligence is supposed to be the next great economic engine. Every government wants it. Every CEO is talking about it. Every major economy is trying to position itself as the winner of the AI age. But there is a problem. While the United States is turning AI into an investment boom, Europe is still trying to turn AI into a strategy. And that difference matters. Because AI is not just another technology trend. It is becoming part of the basic infrastructure of economic power. It affects productivity. It affects defense. It affects energy demand. It affects cloud computing, data centers, chips, software, industrial automation, and even geopolitical influence. The World Economic Forum says AI remains one of the major tailwinds in the global economy, with 92% of chief economists expecting greater AI adoption over the next year. But the same report also warns that optimism around fast productivity gains has cooled. In other words, AI is spreading, but the economic payoff may take longer than many people expected. And this is where Europe's problem begins. Because if productivity gains take longer, the countries with deeper capital markets, stronger tech companies, cheaper energy, bigger data infrastructure, and faster execution will have more time to pull ahead. And right now, that country is not Europe. It is the United States. Chapter 1. Europe is not poor, it is slow. The first thing to understand is that Europe's AI weakness is not because Europe has no talent. Europe has world-class universities. It has strong engineers. It has companies like Mistral AI, DeepL, 11 Labs, ASML, Siemens, SAP, and a powerful industrial base. So the issue is not intelligence. The issue is speed. Europe is extremely good at research, regulation, public institutions, and long-term planning. But AI rewards something different. It rewards speed, scale, capital, infrastructure, and risk. And on those measures, Europe keeps falling behind. The European Commission's own 2026 economic forecast says EU GDP growth is expected to slow to just 1.1% in 2026, while inflation rises to 3.1%. It also says the US outlook has strengthened partly because of a robust AI-related investment cycle, while Europe's limited presence in fast-growing AI-related sectors is holding it back. That is the key sentence. Europe is not just growing slowly because of energy shocks or inflation. It is also missing out on the strongest investment theme in the global economy. The US is not only using AI, it is building the infrastructure around AI, data centers, cloud platforms, AI chips, venture-backed startups, foundation models, enterprise tools, consumer applications, defense, AI, robotics. Europe, by comparison, is still trying to coordinate a response across dozens of countries, languages, regulators, tax systems, capital markets, and political priorities. That is not a small disadvantage. That is a structural disadvantage. Chapter 2. The US has built an AI flywheel. The American AI advantage is not just OpenAI or NVIDIA, it is the entire flywheel around them. The US has hyperscalers like Microsoft, Amazon, and Google. It has the venture capital system. It has deep public markets. It has the biggest AI labs. It has huge cloud infrastructure. It has enormous data center spending. It has the ability to turn a startup into a trillion-dollar ecosystem extremely quickly. Stanford's 2026 AI Index says global corporate AI investment more than doubled in 2025. Private investment grew by 127.5%, and generative AI investment grew by more than 200%. It also says the United States continues to lead global private AI investment, with US generative AI investment exceeding the combined total of China and Europe by a wide margin. That is not just a funding gap. That is a future power gap. Because AI is expensive. Training models is expensive. Hiring talent is expensive. Buying chips is expensive. Running inference is expensive. Building data centers is expensive. Securing electricity is expensive. So when AI becomes a capital-intensive race, Europe's weakness becomes more obvious. Europe has savings, but it often struggles to turn savings into risk capital. Europe has startups, but many struggle to scale. Europe has talent, but too much of that talent gets pulled into American companies or American-funded ecosystems. And Europe has regulation, but regulation does not build compute. It may create trust, but it does not automatically create global champions. Chapter 3. Europe's digital weakness started before AI. Europe's AI weakness did not suddenly appear in 2026. It is the result of a much older digital weakness. For the last 2 decades, Europe has failed to produce the same kind of platform giants that the United States created. The US built Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Meta, Nvidia, OpenAI, Anthropic, Tesla, Palantir, and many others. China built Alibaba, Tencent, Baidu, Huawei, ByteDance, and a large domestic technology ecosystem. Europe built strong industrial companies, luxury brands, car makers, banks, pharmaceutical companies, and engineering champions. But it did not dominate the digital platform layer. That matters because AI sits on top of that digital layer. AI needs cloud. AI needs data. AI needs software distribution. AI needs chips. AI needs platforms. AI needs customers already inside digital ecosystems. A 2026 EIB-linked policy brief found that more than 350 billion euros was invested in software in the US in 2024, compared with 110 billion euros in the EU. It also noted that the ICT sector made up about 45% of major US stock market indices in 2025, compared with only around 9% in Europe. That tells the story. In the US, technology sits at the center of the economy. In Europe, technology is still too often treated as a sector beside the economy. But in the AI age, technology becomes the economy. Chapter 4. Europe's growth problem makes the AI gap worse. Europe is trying to catch up in AI at exactly the wrong time. Growth is weak. Energy costs remain a major concern. Defense spending is rising. Public debt is under pressure. Populations are aging. Productivity growth has been subdued for years. The IMF said in June 2026 that the euro area faces new headwinds from the Middle East war and higher energy prices, layered on top of long-standing structural problems such as population aging and weak productivity growth. The IMF projected euro area growth of only 0.9% in 2026 and 1.2% in 2027. This matters because AI investment requires confidence. If companies are worried about energy prices, weak demand, high borrowing costs, and political uncertainty, they are less likely to make aggressive long-term technology investments. And if governments are already stretched by defense, energy support, welfare systems, and debt costs, they have less room to throw money at AI infrastructure. This creates a dangerous loop. Weak growth reduces investment. Low investment slows AI adoption. Slow AI adoption weakens productivity. Weak productivity keeps growth low. And then Europe wonders why it is falling further behind. Chapter 5. AI productivity is not automatic. One mistake people make is assuming that once companies adopt AI, productivity automatically rises. That is not how this works. AI is not magic dust. A company does not become more productive just because it buys an AI tool. To get real productivity gains, companies need to redesign workflows. They need better data. They need trained staff. They need software integration. They need management that understands how to use AI properly. The EIB published research in 2026 using data from more than 12,000 non-financial firms in the EU and US. It found that AI adoption increased labor productivity by around 4%, but the gains were concentrated in medium and large firms and depended heavily on complementary investments in software, data, and workforce training. That is crucial. AI helps most when the company is already organized enough to use it. This is where Europe has a problem. Large European firms may be able to adopt AI, but small and medium-sized businesses often do not have the money, data systems, technical staff, or confidence to rebuild their operations around AI. So AI adoption may spread unevenly. Big companies get more efficient. Small companies fall further behind, and Europe's productivity gap becomes even harder to close. Chapter 6. Regulation is not the whole problem. A lot of people blame Europe's AI weakness on regulation, and there is some truth to that. Europe has a more cautious approach to technology. The EU AI Act focuses on safety, transparency, and risk. For some companies, this creates uncertainty. For startups, legal complexity can become another cost. But blaming everything on regulation is too simplistic. Europe's deeper problem is fragmentation. A startup in the US can scale across one huge domestic market. A startup in Europe has to deal with different languages, labor laws, tax systems, legal environments, procurement rules, funding networks, and customer behaviors. The European Commission's competitiveness compass openly says Europe needs to close the innovation gap, help young companies start and expand, make it easier for companies to operate across the EU, and help larger companies adopt technologies like AI and robotics. That is basically Europe admitting the problem. The issue is not that Europe has no ideas. The issue is that Europe has too much friction between the idea and the market, and in AI, friction is deadly. Because while Europe debates how to scale, American companies are already scaling. Chapter 7. Europe is trying to fight back. To be fair, Europe is not doing nothing. The European Commission has launched the AI Continent Action Plan, which aims to build large-scale AI data and computing infrastructure, improve access to data, increase AI adoption in strategic sectors, strengthen AI skills, and support implementation of the AI Act. It has also launched Invest AI, a plan to mobilize 200 billion euros for AI investment, including a 20 billion euro fund for AI gigafactories. And Europe is building AI factories, which use Euro HPC supercomputing capacity to support AI startups, SMEs, researchers, industry, and public authorities. The Commission says 19 AI factories and 13 antennas are currently operational, with at least 9 new AI-optimized supercomputers planned. This is important. Europe has realized that AI sovereignty is not just about writing rules. It is about owning infrastructure. Compute is power. Cloud is power. Data is power. Energy is power. If Europe depends too heavily on American cloud providers, American AI models, American chips, and Asian hardware supply chains, then Europe's digital future can be shaped by decisions made outside Europe. That is the fear behind the phrase AI sovereignty. Europe does not want to become a customer in someone else's AI empire. Chapter 8. Europe's hidden advantage. But Europe is not completely out of the race. Its best chance may not be copying Silicon Valley. Europe probably will not beat the US by trying to build the next ChatGPT clone with less money, less compute, and slower capital markets. Europe's advantage is different. It is industrial AI. Europe has deep expertise in manufacturing, automotive, aerospace, energy, healthcare, logistics, climate technology, pharmaceuticals, and engineering. These are areas where AI does not just write emails or generate images. It optimizes factories. It predicts machine failures. It improves drug discovery. It reduces energy waste. It automates industrial processes. It helps design materials, turbines, vehicles, medical systems, and supply chains. This is where Europe could still win, not necessarily by owning the biggest consumer chatbot, but by embedding AI into the industries where Europe already has credibility. The EIB-linked policy brief notes that the EU has more than 7,000 companies participating in the global AI race, and that European startups often focus on applied AI, industrial AI, and specialized domains such as manufacturing, healthcare, and regulatory-compliant AI. That is the optimistic case. Europe may be weak at the platform layer, but it still has strength in the physical economy, and as AI moves from chatbots into real-world production, that strength could matter. Chapter 9. The Real Risk: Becoming Dependent. The biggest danger for Europe is not that it has no AI companies. The biggest danger is dependency. If European companies use American models, hosted on American clouds, running on American-designed chips, inside data centers financed by American capital, then Europe may still adopt AI, but it will not control the value chain. It will get the productivity benefits, but not the strategic power. It will pay for the tools, but not own the platforms. It will regulate the technology, but not lead it. This is the uncomfortable truth. Europe can become an advanced user of AI while still being a weak AI power. That distinction matters, because in the modern economy, the biggest profits usually go to whoever controls the platform, not whoever uses the platform. The smartphone changed the world, but Apple and Google captured the operating system layer. Cloud computing changed business, but Amazon, Microsoft, and Google captured the infrastructure layer. AI may do the same thing. If Europe does not own enough of the AI stack, it risks becoming a premium customer rather than a global leader. Chapter 10. What Europe needs to do now. If Europe wants to close the AI gap, it needs more than speeches. It needs scale. It needs cheaper energy. It needs deeper capital markets. It needs faster public procurement. It needs less fragmentation. It needs more risk-taking. It needs stronger links between universities, startups, large companies, and government buyers. It needs a real market for scale-ups, not just grants and pilot programs. The IMF has argued that a more integrated EU single market would help firms scale and lift productivity growth. It also said completing key parts of Europe's savings and investment union could lift EU GDP by around 3% in the long run. That matters because AI is not only a technology policy issue, it is a capital markets issue. It is an energy issue. It is an industrial policy issue. It is a defense issue. It is a productivity issue. And it is a political issue. Europe cannot regulate its way into AI leadership. It has to build, finance, and deploy. Europe still has time, but not forever. So, is Europe losing the AI race? Right now, yes. At least in the most important parts of the AI stack. The US has the capital. The US has the cloud giants. The US has the frontier labs. The US has the data center boom. The US has the investor appetite. Europe has talent, research, industrial depth, and regulatory influence. But those strengths are not enough on their own. AI rewards execution, and Europe's weakness is that it often understands the problem before it solves the problem. That is why this moment matters, because AI may become the technology that separates fast economies from slow ones. It may separate countries that own the future from countries that rent access to it. And if Europe does not move faster, the danger is not that AI skips Europe completely. The danger is worse. AI will arrive in Europe, but the profits, platforms, infrastructure, and strategic power will belong somewhere else. And that may be Europe's real AI weakness.